Hey everybody, what's up, man? Hold the truth hostage, where if the truth was so important, we wouldn't negotiate with lies. We would hold the truth hostage. Full-time ghosting isn't an option. It's the only choice. Full-time ghosts. Now, I want to thank everybody for voting for this next video. And I think that's what I'm going to do from now on. I want to thank everybody for voting for Society Humiliation Ritual. You know what I'm saying? Society Humiliation Ritual. I want to thank everybody for voting on it. Man, a lot of people think, man, I'm not listening to what people are saying, but it's that, man, YouTube blocks and hides content. I'm surprised y'all even get to see the post I put on my community board. But, either way, this video is gonna be great. Cause what's funny about this, man, I could literally just sit here and laugh for like a whole hour, and y'all would understand, man. Y'all would understand why I'm laughing, But Society Humiliation Ritual. I'm gonna start calling myself, I'm gonna start using this from now on, because, since YouTube wants to hide what conceal me, other people, as predicted, are taking my talking points, but, they're too scared, too terrified, I've been chopping it up with some of the guys on Discord, and if you notice, the only person you won't see people make a video and react to talking points is me, Person they won't react to the talking points is me, you know what I'm saying? But, it's funny how I'm making this video right when I'm cleaning out, doing the laundry, you know what I'm saying? Because, that's what I'm going to be doing now, is that with this video, you got to clean out your urge to perform a humiliation ritual, But like I said, this video, Society, humiliation ritual, and I'm gonna go from now on. I'm going by societal analysis. You know what I'm saying? That's what I gotta start saying. I'm a social analysis. You know what I mean? Like a stock market analysis. Because no one's gonna, that way maybe that might hide some things or alter the way YouTube is targeting me. But yeah, it's a social analysis, But let's go, man. Society Humiliation Ritual. And, as predicted, I know I start a lot of these videos with I've predicted, as predicted, I said this. But look, man, I've been making, prophecy videos for years, been telling you what's coming. And we are where I've been saying we would be, man. You know what I'm saying? Look up one of the biggest, people they're pushing now. What is his name? Kevlar, and what is he? He's using looks maxing. He's using all these talking points from the black pill community. I told y'all that this would happen. I told y'all what was coming was the gray pill. The gray pill would be mainstream, where they use black pill talking points, but they're not, they're using black pill talking points that still give them a potential advantage and to flip the narrative to benefit them on a societal level. You know what I'm saying? And I told y'all the dark gray pill would be mainstream. I told y'all the dark gray pill would be mainstream, where somebody is using black pill talking points that basically push somebody towards endangering their lives. You know what I'm saying? Pushing someone to basically towards the point of a level of depression where, they might go to Home Depot and buy themselves some rope. You know what I mean? I told y'all this. And look who they're pushing, Kevlar, who's promoting that, you gotta hit yourself with a hammer for looks maxing. You got dent your bones. You gotta take meth. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Why you think they don't cover Hold the Truth Hostage, man? Why you think nobody will react to my videos? Because it's undeniable. You know what I'm saying? It can't be denied that, you know, the accuracy of prediction I've been pushing and telling people, you know what I'm saying? Over 5 years ahead of my time, 10 years ahead of my time, and the list, you know, over 10 years ahead of my time, I've been telling you guys, man. And look who they're pushing, Kevlar, whatever his name is, Kevlar. They're pushing a guy that has the looks of like some type of male model who's telling young men you gotta utilize some meth, and then the guy's in the closet as well. You know what I'm saying? You know, I told guys, man, the fear of reacting to what I'm saying, because at the end of the day, you can't argue my points. No one can look at my videos and say, yeah, Hold the Truth, you were wrong there. Hold the Truth Hostage, you were, that ain't possible. Look at it, man. I told y'all the black pill is already, when we were making black pill, we're at black pill 5.0, I told you guys that the black pill is already mainstream. You know what I'm saying? But what they're gonna push is the gray pill. Someone that basically has been exposed to the black pill but wants to utilize it to succeed in society. They want to utilize the black pill to get dates, to get married, even though the black pill 100% tells you no. You know what I'm saying? The gray pill is someone that absorbs the black pill knowledge and basically can't accept it 100%, and they have to find a way to fit and mold it to still obtain success in society, you know? Then the dark gray pill, where what are the news stations? The news is covered a man who got surgery to get taller. You know what I'm saying? They covered a man who got surgery to get taller. Come on, man. They're pushing the dark gray pill. They're telling men with your knowledge of, you know, with what you know of looks theory and certain things like that, you need to go to the point where you're gonna get surgery, you gotta endanger your life. I told guys this way back when I was on a stream. I think the stream I was on was 2019. I was on a stream with, I think it was Face LMS, I think that's who it was. And he said, you know what, if you guys want to keep your woman, you have to do whatever it takes. If that means getting plastic surgery, if that means, you know what I'm saying? I remember when I was in that, I was like, what? What? You're saying a guy should get plastic surgery, should do whatever it takes to keep his woman. You know what I'm saying? I told you guys, man, you know, the dark gray pill will push men towards destroying themselves. You know what I'm saying? Plastic surgery, you know what I'm saying? Bone lengthening surgery. It will push you to risk your life to basically fit in society. And there's a lot of money in that, you know? And like I've been telling guys, the reason they want to push you towards this path is that they're already guaranteed to get their money. And the other thing is, someone that's below 6 feet tall, someone I mean that's below 6 feet, as in someone that has basically unalived themselves, is a customer that can't give you a bad review. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. When has someone unalived themselves and left, right after unaliving themselves, because things ain't work out, left a review? They left a review and a rating. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? They never have, you know? And there's a lot of money. What they're basically pushing with Kevlar, the guy pushing looks maxing, you know what I'm saying, which we proven years ago, there's a lot of closeted activity with looks maxing. A lot of men looking at other men saying how great this man can look and how attractive this man can look. You know what I'm saying? You know, I remember when, what was it, Wheat Waffles, I did a stream, and when I did the stream about, you know, they were face rating minors, out of nowhere Fiverr took out face rating minors. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of closeted activity going on with the looks maxing community. You know, I've seen it where a lot of guys I was on a Discord. I had to leave the Discord where you're like, man, it was bad, bro. You're like, man, y'all got a whole section just looking at other men and saying they're looks maxing. The closet is real, man. Shout out to the homie Kalala who made a meme where the world is in a closet. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. But to get back to society humiliation ritual is that the biggest issue a lot of men have, and they don't understand compound interest. A lot of men don't understand compounding interest. A lot of men will say, you know what? And this is why I say full-time ghosting is in effect. And I've been telling guys this for years, that full-time ghosting will be mainstream. A lot of men will be ghosting, part-time ghosting, half-time ghosting, whatever, sometimes. But at some point, it's going to lead to full-time ghosting. Ghosting will be the main talking point, and what you'll constantly hear about is ghosting. But society humiliation ritual, and the reason I say this is that a lot of our talking points, like I said, I've seen people copying channels that have hundreds of thousands of subs, bigger channels taking my talking points and just, they won't credit you, whatever. But what's happened, like I said, is that the black pill is mainstream. One of the biggest talking points you hear now is performative. Somebody talked to me about performative, and I was like, wow, that's deep, man. People are now saying everything is performative. You know what I'm saying? Then everyone's saying, humiliation ritual. You know what I'm saying? And we know what's happened with, how the Epstein's files, and we've been talking about this for years. I just wasn't using the word performative or humiliation ritual, but we all know it's not hard to spot the humiliation ritual with celebrities. Logan Paul, KSI, what is it, Mr. Beast, what is it, I Show Speed, Kai Cenat, we seen what they've done. Logan Paul in a Unalive Forest, Mr. Beast with a closeted friend, you know what I'm saying, and bragging about his privates. Then what else? I Show Speed and Kai Cenat sharing a shower. I Show Speed's profile picture where he was giving a BJ to a microphone. You know what I'm saying? We know the signs of the humiliation ritual. But the problem is a lot of men don't know the sign of the humiliation ritual from a non-celebrity, non-fame level. A lot of men don't know that the mass majority of men are pursuing and performing in a humiliation ritual, society's humiliation ritual. A lot of men think, like I was saying, don't understand compound interest, as in, you know what? If I avoid the government from marriage, I'll be getting a fair deal. You know what I'm saying? If I avoid this, I'll be getting a fair deal. A lot of men think that you're performing something, you know what I'm saying, away from the no-brainer, you child support, how you could end up in a family court. A lot of men think, that's the only way I can humiliate myself. That's the only way I can be a part of the humiliation ritual, that I'm performing for society. You know what I'm saying? Performative, performative. Oh, that word is fire, You know what I'm saying? It's all of the black pill talking points have gone mainstream. You know what I'm saying? But they're saying, but what's happening is this, man, and why you're performing in a humiliation ritual is that you don't look at it that this society has made laws to say that you being a heterosexual male is a problem. You know what I'm saying? You having any authority is a problem. They've governed and created all the laws around depriving the heterosexual male of any authority. You know what I'm saying? You celebrating your authority as a man on your family and so on, that's seen as misogynist, right? You know what I mean? Misogynist, sexist, you know what I'm saying, patriarchal, you know, which is, they promote that as negative, and you got the whole media for over 10 years, they've allowed the women to be misandrous. You can't go on TikTok and not hear all men are garbage, all men are trash. You know, men should basically walk 6 feet under everybody, you know what I'm saying? And where a lot of men don't understand that you're performing in society as a humiliation ritual is you're actually trying to seek success from a society that has deemed you, and I've been saying this for a while, for over 5 years now, that you're a target. You being born a man makes you society's target. They got the aim at you. And a lot of men think, you know what, if I do this at my job, my career, if I do this and that, society will accept me. No, man. The humiliation, the societal humiliation ritual is you, a man, pursuing any validation from society. You know what I'm saying? You're doing all this stuff thinking I'm a good man, I'm this and that. Dude, once the society has said that you just being a man is a problem, and if you're heterosexual, it's a problem. You're a target. Even think about the men that are, you know, in the closet, you know, rainbow qualifications, you know. The men that, they demonize the men that will talk up and say how it was trauma, abuse that led them to rainbow qualifications, you know what I mean? That led them to live in a closet and get a portable closet, and led them to the, you know what I'm saying, led them to the rainbow qualifications, you know? And what do? They make fun of those guys. How dare you claim that you finding a rainbow was a negative and a trauma? You know what I'm saying? How dare you? How dare you? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of guys don't understand that it's compound. Within this society, this is why I say full-time ghosting is, and I've been saying this for going on half a decade, that full-time ghosting is gonna take over, is that men, to separate themselves from society being able to take a grasp of them, hold on to them, men will start full-time ghosting. Men will have zero attachments and zero liability. You have to understand that you pursuing validation in a nation where they automatically said you being a father is negative. You know what I'm saying? You having authority is negative. You pursuing, and I'll go into this, you being not monogamous, you know what I'm saying? You being polygamous is negative. You know what I'm saying? Aspects of you being a man is negative. You can't pursue any perspective of positivity from that. You know what I mean? You can't look at that society that's saying that, that's been promoting on the news, that's literally created laws, you know, had events such as Me Too, they've promoted to say all men are criminals, all men are abusive, you know what I'm saying, towards women and so on. You know what I mean? So you think you can find anything fair, any opportunity that this society will celebrate you? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you don't get a job, you don't get a career. Yeah. Remember, that's performative. That's what you gotta look at it, man. I'm working, I'm doing my job, I'm staying out of the way. You know what I mean? And the other thing is you're buying property where you know you own everything, but you understand that the government at any time, if they want to, could come after it. You know what I'm saying? That's what you gotta understand when you're living in a domestic location where they see the strength of their men is a negative. The masculinity of a man is a negative. Think about it. They spent over 20 years, forget 20, they've spent over 40 years telling you as a man, that being masculine is negative. I remember growing up, they would say, oh man, why are guys not sensitive, showing your sensitive side? Why do you have, your walls up? You know what I'm saying? They've been working their way to emasculate the men to the point where we are now, where most men don't talk with bass in their voice. Most men talk like this. Well, how are you doing? How can I help you? Are you all right? Sure. I'm such a good man. I can help you. You know what I'm saying? Guys avoiding talking with bass in their voice. Guys shaking your hand like it's a feather. Soft, you know what I mean? No grip, no strength in their handshake. Soft, Everything that's masculine and respectful taken away. And they got men saying, I'm in pursuit of love and romance. Hold the truth hostage. I'm just looking for someone I can love and dance around and throw roses on. That's very masculated. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been telling guys, made a video called The Pink Pill. You could look it up. That predictions come true where they're promoting pink-pilled men. But you gotta understand that when you're walking within a society where they've deemed you being a man, you being born a man is a problem. They're literally promoting that the women should seek to basically, seek to have a meeting with the Reaper if they're having a boy as a child. Come on, man. A lot of guys don't get compound interest. You know what I'm saying? Once the law is designed to strip you, you could lose your child. You know what I'm saying? There's over a 90% chance, even though you're by virtue of being a man, you should be the default qualifier for that child because you can protect that child from another man. You know what I'm saying? From another man, By virtue of you being a man, the most qualified person to be a parent is a man. Because the biggest danger to a child is another man. So who can protect the child from a man besides a man? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of guys here are performing, oh man, my job gave me a raise and my career, this and that. Dude, man, you're in a society where you're not allowed to maximize nor walk in public proudly as a heterosexual man and living that type of life, So you got to understand that in that society, anything you do to seek to obtain validation for that society, you know what I'm saying, as I call it, system guidance. Anything you try to do to, oh man, if I get a house, I'm gonna be seen as a great person for the nation and the community. You know what I'm saying? No, bro, you're just another resource in that system. You're a heterosexual man. They're looking to drain you of your resources anyway. There is no celebration for you. Once you're in a nation where seeing you being a strong heterosexual male is a negative. You know what I'm saying? The fact that we're in a society where they say, oh man, why aren't you emotional? Why aren't you sharing your emotions and all that? As a man, and what you keep hearing that BS, emotional intelligence, aka distance from intelligence. You know what I'm saying? That a man is depending on his emotions. You're literally in a society where they're telling you abandon logic for the pursuit of emotional intelligence, and you think you're not in a society where you have to perform a humiliation ritual. You know what I'm saying? That to succeed is to be humiliated. I mean, how many men we've seen cry and lose everything? You know what I'm saying? Oh, I got married, I was a good father, and I woke up one day and next thing I know, they put restraining order without any evidence. Notice that. They can literally put a restraining order on you, a man, without any evidence of you doing anything. Come on, man. Yet you think you have an opportunity for acceptance. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You got an opportunity to succeed and be accepted by this society, man. The mass majority of men here that still pursue that whole BS, men that are still using the 1950s, I'm looking for a traditional way of living, see? Traditional life and all. Dude, the laws are not promoting nor acceptance nor in any way or form for that whole traditional crap y'all talking about. What is traditional about the woman you're with being able to just put you on child support and strip you of authority over your children? What the hell is traditional about that? This is the society you live in, you know? But the men, like I keep saying, don't have compound interest awareness that, dog, once the government nationally is interested in destroying you for being a example of a stable, mature, authoritative, heterosexual male, they are now, everything compounds towards that. Nothing is bigger than the fact that the laws that have passed that are against your manhood. You know what I'm saying? And everything compounds into that, You know what I'm saying? The family court ain't the worst thing. You know what I'm saying? The family court ain't the worst thing, because what's before the family court? You know what I'm saying? That's just the regular judicial branch, the government. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's above that. And they passed all these laws that are completely anti, male to begin with. And it all compounds, compounds to the society you live in. Yeah, as I was saying, you gotta understand, man. And, I've touched up on this for years, is that think about it. Think about it like this. The natural state of a man is heterosexuality, right? That's your natural state. And the government where you're at is literally saying that's the problem. The problem is you want to exist in your natural state. You want to just be a natural and normal man. That's a problem. Because the problem with that, when a government seeks to normalize corruption, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't even understand that how corrupt and how normalized corruption has become, to where it takes so much for you to even see what corruption is. Corruption is when the mayor's stealing money, when the mayor's stealing funds, mistreating people, discriminating. No, man, it's even before that. The foundation is corruption. When a mayor knows that they already got the laws written to basically limit men. You know what I'm saying? I made a video, Male Limitation Society. You're literally living in a society where they've seen that the natural state of a man limits the progression of corruption. You know what I'm saying? They know that if you were allowed to be a man where you could have and take care of your family, or families, you could reach your potential. Like I've been saying, some guys, one woman, one family isn't enough. You know what I'm saying? Some guys might need 3, 5 families. And, you know what I'm saying? Polygamous. Some men are polygamous on a hyper level. Some guys might need 20 wives to reach their peak. You know what I'm saying? 20 wives, 45 children. So some men, that's what they need to reach their true potential, And what's the problem with that? That a man would provide, a man would protect and provide, notice I switched up the word. It's protect and provide for 20 women. What's the problem with 20 women being protected and provided by a man? Oh, the problem is the way the government looks at it. Oh man, that's children that are governed under that man before they are governed by the government. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of men don't understand that, dude, your existence, in your natural state is a problem. Think about how they've emasculated men. And I said, Will Smith. I said Will Smith is gonna be the future of men, and who stepped up? Stephen Curry, the future of men. And notice the narrative they're pushing: provide, provide, provide. They don't mention protect. Protect is supposed to be priority. Before you can provide, you must protect. If you can't protect what you have, it ain't worth, you know what I'm saying? It ain't worth nothing. But in a society where a man's existence in pursuit of starting a family, which is already limited, that man isn't allowed to start as many families as he wants. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Unless it's through the negative lens of polygamy, which is, how they push the baby dads. Oh man, a man has children by many women, and they've ensured that the only way to do this is through negativity. It's not that a man has multiple women living under one roof taking care of his children. Think about that. Think about that. It's not legal for you to have a polygamous family, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Through marriage in the court, but it is legal to have polygamy through a broken family. You know what I'm saying? A broken family, you could be polygamous. You could be a baby dad of 8 children, 7 different women, whatever. They all don't live under your roof, so that it maintains the destruction, the destruction, because if all those women are under one roof, the man's gonna have more resources, save more money. Those women will live longer because they'll take care of each other and share taking care of the children and so on. And they'll be under that man's authority. But that's too much. You know what I'm saying? Just, look at Tyreek Hill, I think the football player who has over 8 baby moms, or Nick Cannon with over 12 children, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Them having that many children isn't a problem. It's how they had them. You know what I'm saying? It's how they had them. All the children aren't under one roof, so they can't all see their father at the same time. You know what I'm saying? You see how the destruction is set up, And you look at this society where they're constantly promoting that a man must be a provider. A lot of men don't understand the talking point of them pushing provider. It's that you must be able to provide an opportunity for the women to have authority over you. So provide. You know what I'm saying? That's why they're pushing that word provide so heavy. You got to be a provider. You have to be a provider. Notice they don't put protector. They don't put authority. You have to provide an opportunity for someone to take advantage of. You know what I'm saying? Someone to take you to the family court. Someone to put you on a restraining order. Someone to make money off of you. You must provide that opportunity. That's why they're pushing provider. And provider is really just a flip off of, Kevin Samuels, who took the high value man thing. You know what I'm saying? You must provide high value. You know what I'm saying? And to provide, you must have high value. It's all about you providing an opportunity in a situation where there is legally no way that they can argue that there are benefits in a relationship for a man. There's legally no way to say there's any benefits, You know what I'm saying? For a man with the opposite sex on a legal standpoint, the benefits don't outweigh the risks. They legally can't tell you that the benefits outweigh the risks. You could be moving in, living with your girl, and out of nowhere, restraining order, but your name is still on the lease. You still got to pay the rent. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's all about providing the opportunity for your destruction because this society's interest on a national level is to not have male authority. Because male authority would mean less corrupt governments. Because the government would have to deal with the men. You know what I'm saying? That's why they gave women the same voting rights, same value of votes. Forget the voting rights, the value. The same value of votes a man has is the same value of votes a woman has, even though the men have far more responsibility. That society does not stand without the men. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking from a standpoint of jobs and labor. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the very defense and protection of that society is the men. You know what I'm saying? And for a government to say, well, you know what, the women will have the same value of votes as the men. You know what I'm saying? We're all it's equality. It's think about what the government has done with that saying. It's saying that a man, a woman must be equal to a man. As in the government's eyes, the government sees you, a man, as a defenseless, helpless, easily manipulated woman. That's what the government sees you. That's how the government sees you. That's why they keep pushing feminism. It was equality. It was equality. It was scam quality, man. Fraud quality. You know what I'm saying? Fraud-tality, scam-tality. That's all it was. It was a way of calling a man, a female dog. You know what I mean? They're telling you you're equal. The government has the nerve to think about it. The same government that didn't. If we men and women are so equal, why wasn't the government sending men and women to war since the beginning of war? You know what I'm saying? It's all set up, man. And you got guys here willing to say, well, I'll hold the truth hostage if I behave, if I'm a good man, if I'm a provider, or, shout out to the homie Kalala, a workhorse, if I'm a workhorse pillar, if I'm a dog pillar, if I'm a good man, a law-abiding citizen. You know what I'm saying? A lot of men actually think you're a law-abiding citizen. How are you a law-abiding citizen when in the law it's structured that your natural state, a heterosexual man, is a negative? It's a problem. You know what I'm saying? What don't you get as a man? You can't be a law-abiding citizen. You can't be. How are you a law-abiding citizen as a man when you seek to be straight, you seek to have authority, you seek to protect and provide and be a source of stability for your family? You know what I'm saying? How are you a law-abiding citizen when they've deemed that, and you could see it from all the talking points, you know what I'm saying, for over 20 years, forget that, over 40 years, over 50 years, right? When feminism started, where they said they literally wrote in a magazine, and this is how you know it's not normal, how you know it isn't feminism was nothing more than a government and a corporate psyop, is that they literally wrote on a magazine that a woman serving food and dinner to her children and her husband is slavery. You know what I'm saying? If that was so, if that was certain, then how come since the beginning of, the nation, how come since the beginning of women and men having children and the women serving food to their children, how come the women weren't revolting and claiming that slavery? You know what I'm saying? At the loudest. How come that wasn't a normal aspect to tell a woman, well, if you have children, you're a part of a family, you're going to be a slave? How come that wasn't the normal doctrine, the normal talking points? You know what I'm saying? That's how you know feminism is nothing more than a psyop funded by the government and corporations. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is, man. And another thing, before I forget, because, this is about society, humiliation ritual, is that you got to understand, it's all about humiliation. The humiliation of a man is you being soft and sensitive. You being openly emotional. Look at the show Sopranos, you know. You know what I mean? A lot of people love The Sopranos. I didn't fully watch it. I didn't watch it all, but notice what Sopranos, one of the biggest aspects of Sopranos was Tony going to a psychiatrist. And who was this psychiatrist? They had a female be a psychiatrist and talk to him and tell him what he can and can't do. Why isn't he emotionally expressing himself? You know what I'm saying? They had a big mob boss, you know what I mean, a big gangster, go to a psychiatrist to tell him how problematic of a man he is, versus Tony confining his issues to another man that's a leader, that's a strong figure in his life that he could talk to. You know what I'm saying? They stripped that because they had to promote that to get better, you must lean into the corporations and government programs. You know, you gotta go to a therapist. That's right, a big time gangster who's you know, offing people, doing all this crime. He's got to go to a therapist, sit down with a woman to tell him how bad of a man and how much problems he has. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys didn't know and don't look at that. That was programming. They were programming them in right there. You know what I'm saying? And what happens a few years, you know, let's say over 20 years after The Sopranos, they kept pushing mental health issues. For you to succeed and be normal, you must always have a therapist validate your existence. You know what I'm saying? A therapist must validate the way you think, the way you talk. You know what I'm saying? Think about that, man. You know what I'm saying? No, they put it right in plain sight. You got a lot of guys looking for the Disney closet stuff, dog, whatever. You know, we know what Disney was about and what they're doing. We know who's running, but that ain't the biggest thing. The fact that Tony Soprano, The Sopranos, you know, big time gangster in a show, and he has to sit down, go meet a therapist for his relationship issues, his wife, and all that stuff. It rather than how it used to be, where a man would confine his issues to another man. You know what I'm saying? Even what was that show? Home Improvement. It was a big show in the 90s where Home Improvement with Tim Allen, his neighbor was a man with a lot of wisdom from across the fence. He would talk to him and he'd give him some advice, but we don't want that. We don't want men to understand they must confine and talk to other men to deal with their issues. We don't want that. That ain't a good thing. That's not them performing. That's not them following a humiliation ritual. You know what I'm saying? That's not them following system guidance. You know what I mean? Think about that, bro. And for me to go deeper, you know, let me go deeper, because sometimes, man, I'm so caught up in my thoughts that, you know, I'll do a video and forget to go deeper. You know what I'm saying? To go beyond the soil. You know, knowledge is a void. You know, it's like a black hole. There's no end to it. And we gotta understand this, like I was saying with the Tony Soprano thing. Why do you think all these years they've been pushing men gotta be sensitive? Men have to take down their walls. They gotta be romantic, open themselves to love and all this stuff, because they want you to perform. You know what I mean? That was the humiliation ritual. The humiliation ritual is for you to sell out your manhood, compromise your manhood. The reason us men are less emotional, you know what I'm saying, less sensitive and so on, is that we're heterosexual. We have to deal with the world from our natural state, which is heterosexuality, is that we have to deal with the biggest threat to our family, friends, is another man. It's another heterosexual man. You think there's room? You would go negotiate with another man that's threatening your family with, you know what, let me express some love to you, man. Let me write you a poem. Let me hug you, man. Let me give you some flowers. You know what I'm saying? Is that how you would protect yourself from another man? You know what I'm saying? From another man, that's how you would protect yourself, by opening up and being sensitive and caring and loving. No, bro. That's why they've been pushing this narrative for so long. You know what I'm saying? That's why for you to become a father in a family, you got to compromise your natural state. Is that, yo, man, we're not, you know what I'm saying? We're not as openly and expressive and sensitive and emotional and all that crap. Maybe to our children, you know what I'm saying? We're a lot softer to the women we're around, to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? We're softer, because that's a woman. She's more delicate. You know what I mean? So we're more kind and softer around the women and children, but we don't do it from a standpoint of we lose our perspective as a heterosexual male, our authority, that we know that we live in a world amongst our fellow men, and our fellow men don't deal with roses to one another, flowers. Let me give you your flowers. Hey man, Daniel, Derek, Tyreek, I just want to give you guys some roses and flowers, because I know we're dealing with a lot of problems, but I want to let you guys know that even though we got problems, I love you. I have none but love. That's another thing with us men. For us to, the Trojan horse, we know emotion could be a Trojan horse from our fellow man. You know what I'm saying? We've been naturally born with, we know our greatest competition is our fellow man. And then, being the apex, apex being on earth, you know what I'm saying, with our abilities to think and, navigate the world and dominate it, man, we know our fellow man is plotting as well. And we must surpass our fellow man, that our greatest rivalry is with our fellow man. You know what I'm saying? And we gotta advance, we gotta go further. You know what I'm saying? And some of that is physical competition, mental competition. You know what I'm saying? If you're an athlete, they'll be like, man, why did you play that long? Why did you play that hard? Because, man, another man might have told me I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Another man might have said I can't do it, or another man in the future might try to surpass me. You know what I'm saying? We're always in competition with our fellow man's thoughts and their minds, But a society, and I've been saying this for over half a decade or a decade, I've been saying this for over 10 years, is that, they want you to sell out your natural state of being a heterosexual male, a man of authority, or compromise your manhood, you know what I'm saying, through how you interact with women, how over emotional you are, how sensitive you are, because that empowers the government. You know what I'm saying? The weaker you look as a man, the more the government must substitute that compromising of your manhood. Why do you think they want more closeted men? Because they want closeted men, because once a man joins the closet, he basically, once he gets his rainbow qualifications, that man basically now surrenders his authority, his, what they call that? I might be messing up with the word. Is it anonymity? Anonymity or whatever? I forget the word. But the man, once he's compromised sexually, and he knows other straight men won't tolerate that. Heterosexual men won't tolerate you coming up to them, you trying to basically, interact with them sexually, or you trying to basically flirt with them. They're gonna need the government to protect them, man. They're gonna need laws that say, as we've seen that, we got gender laws now. Something as stupid as gender. You know what I'm saying? Oh, whatever that man identifies that's what he is. So when you hit that man for hugging you or slapping your ass, you hit a woman. You know what I'm saying? And who enforces those laws? The government. You know what I mean? The government, the corporations. We saw what happened in the 2010s to early 2020s, you know, before the mid 2020s, how super hyper pro closet, you know what I'm saying? Because every time a man crosses that line, crosses from being straight to, crosses the heterosexual line to become homosexual, he basically gave up his rights and his manhood to the government. The government must represent him now. You know what I'm saying? The government is now the representative of his manhood and his authority. You know what I'm saying? The government becomes his his representative. The representative of his manhood and authority and his protection now is the government. Once you cross that line, like I've been telling, there's a lot of PTS, man, part-time straight, part-time straight men out there, the closet, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of that. And for them to have authority and protection, the government must overstep its boundaries, you know what I'm saying, to basically represent them. You know what I'm saying? The government has already has the female vote, but they want the male vote. They want the men. Why you think they said, oh, the women are equal to the men? Same value of votes. They need you on your knees. They need you to be like a woman, weaker than a man. They need you to compromise your status as a man, for the government's benefit, So you got to understand the humiliation ritual is in a society where you compromise your manhood. If you compromise your authority as a man, if you place yourself in a position where your authority is compromised, you know what I'm saying? You're performing a humiliation ritual. You know what I'm saying? You got in a long-term relationship where your authority is not absolute. You know what I'm saying? You've compromised and are in a humiliation, society's humiliation ritual. Any man trying to find authority, not authority, trying to find success through compromising their existence as a heterosexual male, you're performing, society's humiliation ritual, That's what's going on. That's why I tell people, back then I didn't notice it. I didn't have the words. All you gotta do is watch the trailer for American Pie 2. Think about American Pie 2. American Pie 1, the guy was so, so fixated on getting some that he banged an apple pie. He banged a warm apple pie. He wanted to feel a woman's body so much, he banged an apple pie. You know what I'm saying? It was pushing that, man. A man is, there's some negatives on it too, but I won't focus on that. But they were pushing that a man is so heterosexual that he'll bang an apple pie. You know what I'm saying? Then the sequel, what do they do with the sequel? It's them going to college, and guess what? They got Stifler, they got two male actors, and they start pushing the narrative that a man would kiss another man just to be in the presence of a woman. AKA, you would compromise your sexuality just to be around a woman, just to be with a woman. You know what I'm saying? Which makes no sense, but it's to push the part-time straight narrative, or PTH, part-time heterosexual, if you want that instead, part-time heterosexual. That's what they wanted. They wanted to push that, hey, guys, you could still pursue being heterosexual if you kiss another man, as long as it's about being with a woman. But the truth is that makes the woman part-time, because if your goal was strictly to go after women, kissing a man would never be an option. You know what I'm saying? In the mouth. That would never be an option if that's your full-time interest. You're heterosexual, But they have to promote and dude, that's in the early 2000s. when they pushed American Pie. And think about it, the same time they pushed Stifler kissing another man to potentially go out with a woman, they had Tony Soprano sitting down with a female therapist to give him advice about how to be a man. You know what I'm saying? Think about that. A lot of guys don't get the programming, you know, how long the programming and propaganda, the agenda has been going on, you know. A lot of guys don't get it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys just think, oh, it's happening now. Hold the truth hostage. It all started in 2010s when they got very aggressive. No, man, they've been building this for quite some time. There's over 100 years, nearly 200 years of interest in promoting the feminist aspect and seeing men as basically equal to women, weak. You know what I'm saying? The government's been pushing that. If you look up, I think it was 1870, and I saw it, I read on it that the government applied pressure to the churches and said, well, if you allow and promote polygamy, we, the government, will not allow you to qualify for certain protections and provisions under being a church. And then the churches went and said, yeah, we don't recognize polygamy. But the churches exposed that them serving God, a higher power, is all performative. Ooh, oh, that word, performative, you gotta give me that. That was a hard-ass combo right there. Because if the churches served a higher power, God, right? You serve a higher power, God, then why would the government saying you recognizing polygamy is a problem? Why would you even respect it? Why would you even submit to the government? Right? You're serving God, you're serving the highest power, right? But the churches bowed down and said, we no longer recognize polygamy. You know what I'm saying? Then the government eventually removed prostitution. Then 20 years later, the female vote happens, you know? You know what I'm saying? The government has been on a PSYOP mission along with the corporations for quite some time, you know? Even right now, they're on a major PSYOP for the closet, you know? Right now, they're trying to make sure they can basically popularize and push a religion where it's normal for them to be minor chasers. You know what I'm saying? They're pushing that on people. Normal for you to be a minor chaser. You know? That's what's going on. And a lot of guys just don't get it, man. When you're in a society where they've made the declaration that you being a man is a problem, you having authority, you pursuing your peak, you reaching your true potential as a man is a problem, and by law they've made that a problem, then anything you do within that society that would basically look for that would basically be you looking for basically you looking for validation, respect, and success from that society, you would have to be promoting and confessing to pursuing society's humiliation ritual. The society already has a problem with you, man. All the laws are designed around stripping you of your manhood. You can't practice polygamy. You can't practice prostitution legally. You know what I'm saying? Yet they're promoting for the women all around to basically be, prostitutes. You know what I'm saying? But from a standpoint of within the law, and that gives them deniability to basically take you to court and arrest you and so on, So a lot of men say, oh, I'm such a great man. I'm a success nationally. How are you a success? How can you be a success where you're limited? There's a limitation on you. where you can't absolutely complete and be fully, you know, heterosexual and have your authority. You can't have a family. You got to compromise your authority, compromise your manhood to have a family. You can't have children. You got to compromise your authority and risk your life, okay? You can't speak up loud about your perspective as a man. You know what I'm saying? That's promoted as toxic masculinity and so on, you know? It is all a society's humiliation ritual. You know what I mean? And a lot of men, like I said, with full-time ghosting, as men realize that, yeah, man, I'm just here to make my money. I'm already in a society where they've demonized me being a man. Me being born a man made me a target. It already deemed me a problem. I'm a negative in the society. My church is surrendered to that society. My religion, every aspect has betrayed me for being a man. You know what I'm saying? So what is there for me to succeed in and lift my hands and say, I'm the best? You're the best at what? Being, performative. You're the best at being, society's humiliation ritual puppet, performing for them. That's what you are. You got to understand, once you're in a society where, by virtue of all the laws, they've limited your access to authority as a man, you know what I'm saying? Once they limit your authority and your ability to be a man heterosexually, you know what I'm saying? Everything else is humiliation. You know what I'm saying? Everything's humiliation. Beyond you getting your own money, your resources, what is there to celebrate accomplish-wise in that society? What is there to celebrate with that society to announce and say, look at me, I'm doing this and that? What is there to celebrate? When that society has basically applied all laws, all regulations around limiting your masculinity and creating laws where you must compromise your position, your manhood, and your heterosexuality to have a family. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of men out there claiming a child needs a leader in their life. A child needs a father. You got men saying that, and then they have a child and they have no authority. You know what I'm saying? I gotta negotiate with my wife what I could do to my son. You know what I'm saying? Even though I'm the protector and provider. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm the first protector. Maybe your wife makes more than you, okay? In a society where they've demonized the men and ensured that they've got quotas for the women. They've actually changed the work laws to make it unnatural. I mean, we literally live in a society where there's so many artificial jobs, artificial careers that were created without any merit to meet certain quotas for the sexes. You know what I'm saying? Certain quotas for the sexes, So you're in that society and you're gonna have a child. What? You're gonna have some children so you could be emasculated in front of your son, in front of your daughter? Well, kids, hey, Dad, Dad, what's going on? What are we doing? Oh, well, son, I gotta ask your mom. Yeah, put my rocket. Yeah, I gotta go ask Adrian what we gonna do. I gotta ask your mom, son, what we gonna do versus, son, I want you to do this, you're gonna do that, you got these chores, I need you to clean the house, I need you to go do this, do that. You know what I mean? Don't even think about asking your mother. Don't even think about asking your mother for anything. You come to me and you know that. You don't got that authority, man. And you got men celebrating, you're literally living, in a society where they deem you being a man, a heterosexual man, as a humiliation. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. All the laws are designed to state that you're a man, and you being a heterosexual man is the worst humiliation you could have in this society. Why you think everything's going on the way it is? You know, the legal situation, the war situation, all of this is happening because, you know what I'm saying, the society you're in does not position heterosexual men in their authority as a benefit. It sees it as a negative because it goes against political corruption. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I could go on all day, but, you know, this has been Hold the Truth Hostage, where if the truth was so important, we wouldn't negotiate with lies, we would hold the truth hostage. Full-time ghosting isn't an option. It's the only choice, full-time ghosting. Like I said, man, full-time ghosting is the mainstream. They will push your Kevlars, the gray pill, the dark gray pill, but they know the number of men that have completely are no longer attached to this system guidance. Men no longer see any value in achieving anything that would meet this society standard beyond their own. Men now only see, I'm here to just make my money. This whole society is a job. This whole society, I am doing nothing more than a performative job. You know, that's what I'm here to do. I'm just performing in this society that's basically anti, you know, man anyway. So I'm just here to make my money. If this society starves from not having children, that got nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? Men are no longer attached. I'm going to buy what I need. I'll establish what I'll need. I'll travel. I'll do what I got to do. But the last thing I'll do is be something where, you know, I'm a bridge for this society. You know what I mean? I'm seeking to perform. You know, you're not going to be performing a society humiliation ritual because you understand you were born. The society sees your birth as a man as humiliation. All right.